Lindsey, and forgive the lighting ahead of time. I've been filming kind of different snippets all evening for this video, so it's gonna be a little wonky, but that's okay. I'm bringing you a really fun video. So this is the Honey's Slim Pickins challenge. This was kind of started by Allie Brown. I'll go ahead and link her down below. She is amazing. She does a really amazing artwork and journaling, so be sure to go find her. And she had come up with this Honey Slim Pickins challenge a few months ago, and when I saw it I knew I wanted to do it, but I kept dragging my feet. And then Kelsey from the Scribbled Bookcase tagged me and challenged me to jump in, so I knew I had to do it. And my husband's back has been injured, so he wasn't able to join in, but I got my son Connor to do it, so that was really fun. And you also get a little peek into my craft room, so stay tuned for that. But if you're not familiar with my channel, if you're the first time here, I do primarily Bible journaling here on my channel, so art journaling in my Bible. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from as I approach this challenge. And the way the challenge works is you have a honey, so like your significant other, your husband, your mom, your son, your daughter, a friend, anybody who's a honey in your life, go through your craft room and pick 5 items. And it has to be like one paint or one ink or one washi, that kind of thing. And we have all kind of loosened the rules in some areas. Tools are kind of a given, so paintbrushes, pens, pencil, that kind of thing, you can add into that collection of 5 within reason. So I did throw in some paintbrushes and things, but it's super fun to let them come into your craft room not knowing what you typically reach for, and have them grab something and challenge you to maybe use some products that you haven't been using. And I think that's a lot of fun. Now with Bible journaling, it's kind of hard because we journal based off of scriptures we're studying, and we're kind of led that way. So I went ahead and created a tip-in for mine. That's kind of how I got around it. So stay tuned, I'll show you what I created. It's super fun. But I did want to go ahead and tag some people to maybe do this challenge as well. So I think it's kind of fun to do this kind of chain tagging for YouTube with something new like this. So I'm tagging EllieBethDesigns, that's Rachel Blundell here on YouTube. Again, I'll link everybody down below. Monica over at Because Jesus Bible Journaling, and then Ashley and Taylor over at Coffee and Bible Time. If you haven't checked out these 3, be sure to go check them out. Most of them, let's see, Because Jesus, Monica, she does mostly Bible journaling. Coffee and Bible Time, and then EllieBethDesigns, they are a little bit of everything. Rachel does some planner videos and some journaling, and she's over in the UK, so that's kind of fun to see her use maybe some different products. And then Ashley and Taylor are super adorable. They do more of like a Christian lifestyle channel, but they've just started doing Bible journaling as well. So go check out all 3 girls. I hope that you want to join in and be challenged as well. I think it's super fun. And stay tuned because you're going to get to see Connor in my craft room and then see what I create. I'll be with you in just a second. All right, so we have Connor is going to do the Honey Slim Pickins challenge with me. So he's going to pick 5 things. You got this?
Yeah.
All right. And for those of you who've been asking for a craft room tour, this is why I don't, because it's a hot mess. So those count as tools, bud. So it has to be like a paint or a paper or a stamp.
I can't use the stress ink.
No, you can. No, you can pick a color to stress ink, but you don't have to pick the tool as one of the things. That's just a given that I get to use that.
Wow. Oh, wait.
And he's wrecking my craft room while he's going around picking.
Hey!
So for those of you who asked about storage, I have Rascog carts. There's the culprit for all my maple hairs in my videos. But so I got these from Walmart actually, and that's where I keep most of my stuff. Alright, so we got a distressing
Of yellow.
Alright, there's one thing. And this room has to function as my craft room, my office for my business, and my filming room. So I have like shipping stuff over there, my filming set up there in the center right here, and then a crafting area where I can make a mess and work. So it's not a beautiful Pinterest craft room. And there you can see the background for my filming as well. Alright, we're picking stamps.
Yeah, I'm trying to find one.
So I keep my stamps like this in a Tupperware container in some plastic, all standing up and labeled, so you can just kind of flip through. I need to expand a little bit because it's getting kind of tight.
Cluttered.
Alright, flowers, not bad, not bad. So we're counting a whole stamp set as one item. We're going to have some leeway on that. Pink, alright, so there's 3. And you can hear the fans. It's like 106 today. So we are hot and sweaty, have fans going. So
Can I choose like 2 markers? Would that work or something?
that counts as 2 different things.
Oh, so that's how it is. 5 items.
That's 5. That's what I got.
Yes.
Alright, so not too bad of colors. So we have Fossilized Amber Distress Ink, and then we have 2 Faber-Castell markers. We have, sorry for my finger, an Illustrated Faith pink ink pad, and then some stamps. So,
Forgot a stamp block.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, stamp block is a tool. Alright guys, let's see what I can create. I'm going to have to just be able to use plain, maybe cardstock, since we don't have a paper or anything. So and in my Bible, yep, it's going to go in my Bible is my plan. So we'll see. Alright,
How are you supposed to do the stamps?
do the stamps. With this, I could actually technically use the top of this. Maybe I'll do that as a added challenge. Alright, I'll see you in a
Alright,
second.
so I hope you liked that little peek into my messy craft area. So here's a look at everything that Connor picked out. Yellow distress ink, a pink pigment ink, 2 different markers from the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pens, and then this is a floral set. This is the Free to Flourish from Illustrated Faith, and that was an older devotional kit. I went ahead and pulled out a 3x4 piece of cardstock. I'm going to create a tip-in to go into my Bible. I didn't really want to create directly on a page just to create a page, so I decided to create a tip-in first and then kind of go from there. So after looking at everything, I thought about doing some ink smooshing using the plastic from the stamp set. So I have done ink smooshing before with distress inks, that's not a problem, but it was new to me to try to use it with the pigment inks, so you'll see that in a minute here. And I am just using plain 65-pound white cardstock, and so the ink smooshing is a little bit more difficult because the cardstock just soaks up that ink right away, and it kind of changed the color of the ink a little bit just because of the way it soaked in, but that's okay. It added a little more dimension and broke up the color a little bit. So now I'm going to try it with the pigment inks. This is the first time I've ever done this, and it worked. I don't know that I would always do it, but I don't know, because the color wasn't as intense once you add water to it, and it's not really meant to work this way, but it did. It went over the top of that distress ink, no problem. And I'm doing this just to kind of break up the background and add some texture before I start working on some other elements. So I pulled in a paintbrush. I always have to add paint splatters. I don't have black this time, but I went ahead and just used the pigment ink to add some splatters. So we cheated a little bit and counted a stamp set as one item instead of just one stamp, but that's okay. You're allowed to make your own rules a little bit. And I pulled out this little leaf piece. I ended up not using it until later on. I left a lot of my thinking in this video and didn't edit it out, just so you can see how I worked through it. I did have some difficulty working with just these basically 2 colors, so I'm trying to figure out how to make things stand out from each other. So for the stamping, I decided to go ahead and use the marker to ink up the stamp. Now the big brush markers, the bigger fatter ones, are actually meant to be used in this way. These have a smaller tip, so it's a little bit harder, and so the ink starts drying as you're adding the ink on there because it's a smaller tip. So I had to go back in and kind of add a sketchy little line in with the markers to intensify the stamping, but it did work just fine. I was able to do the yellow centers and then the rest of it in pink. I'm just going to go back and kind of define all of that. And I like how they do stand out from the background since I used that marker. And now I'm going to paint them in using the Illustrated Faith ink. So I've taken a water brush and I'm going to pick up a little bit of that ink off my craft mat and then paint in these petals. So I don't know that I would do a whole page this way just because it's kind of hard to manipulate, but it worked for these little areas and I was able to color them in. But it's a little bit too much contrast between the inside of the petals and the stamped lines. So I go ahead and bring in a little bit more of the marker. I'm just going to scribble that out on my craft mat. And as long as it's wet, I can pick it up with a water brush and paint it in. These markers are permanent once they are dry. So you just want to work with them this way while they're still wet. And that's just going to add a little more dimension into those flowers. So like I said, it was a little bit hard working with just the two colors, but in the end, I kind of like how it all like seamlessly worked together. It was just those two colors in different shades. I think it worked. So now I'm adding some of that fossilized amber distress ink into the center of those flowers. And now I'm mixing some of the pink and the yellow to create kind of a peachy color to color in the leaves. I didn't have green, but that worked fine just to add another color option to this piece here. So I decided it's still looking a little plain, so I picked out this scallop piece, and I don't think that I had actually used this when I worked through the Free to Flourish kit. So that was the good thing about the challenge, is it pushed me to use something I hadn't used before. So I'm going to go ahead and use the fossilized amber ink to stamp this around the edge of the card, just to add a little more something something. And distress inks don't give you a really good impression, hence distress inks. It gives you a distressed look, but that's kind of what's coming together already on this card, so it worked out. That little doodle detail kind of reminds me of Stephanie Ackerman's Documented Faith designs, kind of. So it has this little sentiment, it says, "Count it all joy." And I'm kind of trying to figure out, do I want it down here at the bottom, or is that going to be too heavy at the bottom? I wasn't sure that I could get an ink that would be standing out from the other stuff enough, so I decided to go ahead and put it up at the top there. And I'm going to stamp with the Illustrated Faith Pigment ink just to add a little bit more of that tone. I didn't feel like there was enough of that in here yet. And these inks stamp really well. They are not waterproof though, so just keep that in mind if you use them in your journaling. And here's where I decided to go ahead and pull back in that little leaf piece. And this is really just working in layers and just evaluating it as I go along to see what else it needs. This was definitely a fun challenge. I really enjoyed it. I encourage you to give it a try for yourself. So again, I'm using that marker to ink this up and stamp it. And these didn't seem to need me to go back over it. Now that piece was really, really warped because of all the water, and it had bled through to the back. So I'm going to go ahead and add a second piece of the exact same cardstock, exact same size, to the back of this piece. That way I can do some journaling and create a tip-in for my Bible without it being really warped and wrinkled. So I just have some score tape that I put around the edges, and then just some roller adhesive that I'm putting in the center, and then that really helped flatten it out there. So I'm still trying to decide what it needs, and I decided to go ahead and ink up the edges with the fossilized amber distress ink. It was hard to tell when I was getting close to going too far and when it was done. I just had to keep kind of standing back looking at it and seeing what it needed, but I'm glad I added this little bit of distress ink around the edges. I think it kind of tied everything together and added even more tones of the yellow in there. So that is it. I went ahead and decided to put it in Psalm 127 verses 3 through 5, where it talks about your children being a gift from God. And I did some journaling on the back of it talking about Connor doing this project with me, and then just a little prayer thanking God for my children. And went ahead and stuck that in my Bible. So I really like how that turned out. I hope you did too. I would encourage you to try out this challenge as well. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. And subscribe to my channel if you are not already subscribed. If you're new here, welcome. Take a look around. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.